Okay. So, Debbie, I was just giving him a summary of what we had talked about at the Finance Committee meeting and what our recommendations were. So basically the recommendations is keeping the investments where they are, move 30,000 from our checking to our savings, which would result in 130,000 in savings, and then move 100,000 from savings into 4 different 6-month treasury bills, putting 25,000 in each. So we have something maturing about every 3 months. We can either roll it into another bill or we can cash it out as needed if we need to. So those are the recommendations of the Finance Committee. Adnan and Debbie, does that sound like what we all kind of talked about?
Yes, and I put it on the budget spreadsheet that we have within the balances, the sheet that has the balances of all the accounts. I put the recommendations there.
Cool.
And I think I stuck them in the minutes too, in case they need to be approved.
Okay. So what do you all, rest of you, think of this?
So I just had a question real quick on the Raymond James account. When with the 60-40 split, is it 60 invested, 40 cash, or the other way around?
I'd have to take a look at my notes. I think it was the 60.
Curious.
I think it was 60 invested and 40
Okay.
in cash. I think what it was.
Right.
60-40 moderate portfolio. Yeah, 60% stocks and 40% fixed bonds.
Okay, thank you.
I don't, it all, what you said makes sense to me. I mean, it's a balance of, you want stable investments that get it's as good a return as possible, balanced with having a certain amount of liquidity so that if something comes up, we can get the money we need when we need it. And it sounds to me like the plan that y'all have come up with does both of those things. So it makes sense to me.
I agree, and I also think that there still is significant cash sitting in the Raymond James, so that if there was an issue with the rollover and we needed something, you would still have cash there as well. So that makes sense to me.
Okay. Do we need a motion or do we just go ahead and go with the recommendation? Deb?
Oh, I just had a question. Is there any concern about treasury bills being stable? Sorry, I'm echoing. About treasury bills being stable. I heard that something about treasury bills are less good than what they were in the past or something.
Oh no, I'd have to research that again.
Yeah.
Maybe Valerie knows more about that.
I mean, Valerie was saying, because we were initially looking at CDs because we thought they were pretty stable, and she said T-bills are basically the federal equivalent of a CD. So they basically are stable, and then it's just a matter of what you want to do when they roll over. But when they
what's the difference between treasury bills and treasury bonds? Is there such a thing?
Treasury bills, I just looked at, I'm using my phone. So treasury bills are short-term investments that mature in 1 year or less. It's really the timing it becomes an issue. Treasury notes have maturities ranging from 2 to 10 years, and then bonds are longer term. So yeah.
Thank you. That's really good information to know.
Yeah. I think it's this is worthy of a motion.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, who'd like to make a motion? I welcome a motion to accept the recommendation of the Finance Committee as presented. Anyone?
I second.
No, she's welcoming a motion. I move that we
Oh,
accept
you're
the
moving. Sorry. She moved. I'm
recommendations.
seconding. Okay.
Okay, Susan made a motion. Mark seconded the motion. All in favor of the motion, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. So we'll go ahead and move forward on that. Maybe if you want to just work with probably Ken Huey on setting up those. I forgot the timeline. That was. I also talked briefly with Debbie at the communications workshop one of the things I forgot to mention at the finance committee was currently ORRC does not have a credit card. We have 2 debit cards that we're using. And the good thing about credit cards is that if somebody gets your card, you can challenge the charges a little bit easier than if they just take the money out of your bank account and you have to then work with your bank. Talking with Debbie, she says it's a little bit easier to challenge charges with a debit card nowadays. The debit card has been working fine. I think, Debbie, you said you work mostly with EFTs anyway. For
Right,
bills.
I rarely use that debit card. I don't carry it with me. I brought it to the lunch the other day, and I brought it to the spaghetti factory, but and I tend to try to use ACH more than the debit card. Yes, debit cards are safer nowadays than they have the reputation to be. However, what it is it takes so debit cards are hooked to your bank account. Credit cards are hooked to some bank's bank account. So it's easier for them to say, okay, we're going to write off this charge for us. With a regular person or a company, they have to do more investigation. But and there's a fees for credit cards. We don't have fees for debit cards. So there are pros and cons on each one. I think if we can avoid it, I would say we don't necessarily need a credit card. If we were issuing them to long-term race directors, that might be a good thing instead of issuing a debit card to something, if that was something we were going to be doing. But I don't see that. I think that's what the prior administrations had done. They had credit cards that they had for long-term people to use for legitimate, expenses. But I don't know if we need that right now, but I wouldn't say we can't revisit it.
I would say we've been using the debit card now for about 2 years, and it's been fine.
Yeah, I
And
think so.
it also eliminates a step, because if you do use a credit card, then you have to submit the receipts and then pay that bill with your bank account or your debit card or ECH or whatever. And so it just kind of eliminates that step.
One more thing to think about.
Yeah. So I wasn't going to pursue getting a credit card, but I just wanted to let you guys know that we had that discussion.
And I think that if the time comes where that seems more feasible, I'm sure let's look at that again.
Yeah. Okay. Debbie, the rest of the treasurer's stuff, you submitted that. Did anybody have any questions about her treasurer's report with the balances and stuff?
The race numbers are the only thing that really don't reflect in what I send out. So I'm going to show the race numbers if that's okay.
Sure.
See if I can get this. I think I need a new computer, but let's see. Okay. Okay, does it look blurry to you?
No, it looks
Really
fine.
blurry? Okay,
No.
good, because mine's blurry so hope you all can see it. So these are pretty up to date. These are as of when I sent it out the other day. I'm sorry, I can't see the numbers that well. For some reason, my screen is just not cooperating tonight. So I'm not gonna touch it too much, but I'm happy. This is, looks like we're doing pretty well with race income. I sent Mark his requested Vernonia, I think, and Hag Lake and Had Road run, and sent Deb another updated. If other race directors are interested in more detail of what this looks like, I'm happy to send it out. But so far the numbers aren't looking too bad, the race numbers. Does anyone have any questions about these?
No, they're great.
I don't
No,
have I don't have questions, but I can say for sure that Hagmud only made about 21,300. So, but I haven't looked at what your report is yet. I wonder if some of the income was from last year.
Or I may have it misattributed. So just take a look at your report and tell me.
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
And again, apologize for my computer there and for the glitch at the beginning. I'll try to get this fixed up for next time.
sure. Cool. Thank you, Debbie.
Right.
Okay, so let's go into the discussion topics. I sent everybody, I shared the SWOT analysis with you all. And I was just, we had talked about just kind of going over, making sure, following up on what we had hoped to do as a result of the strategic planning SWOT analysis that Daniel did a year ago, over a year ago, February. And basically, if you, the main thing is looking at the areas of concentration and the actions on the last page is the one that I wanted to focus on. We talked about areas of concentration, the community outreach and involvement with other groups and events. The things we did mention was Portland Marathon Aid Station, which we actually couldn't do because they didn't have any openings. I know that they are looking to, if they give the people who did an aid station the previous year right of first refusal. So it's only if one opens up that we get an opportunity to do it. So if one comes up, we can talk about it. I haven't heard from them other than getting a booth again at the expo. Connections to running groups in the Couve, Vancouver. We talked about that. Margie looked into that, and their Vancouver Running Club puts on weekly runs basically. And so they're already really a good, strong running group present up there. So they didn't really need us to really get involved in that. There was also partnering with clubs such as Red Lizard. I don't know, Joe and Charissa, have you explored that at all? Or I don't think we have really, but.
I don't know. Actually, yeah, I don't think we've done anything,
Yeah.
but can I ask what what was the goal of trying to involve other groups? Because I've since become aware of a lot of other running clubs and groups, but I don't I don't know if they would meet our criteria or if we would be interested in which kinds of groups. So.
I don't know. I don't remember the conversation other than I think we wanted to have a little bit more of a presence. But I know that we have been doing community outreach in a little bit different way in that as groups have come to us and asked for like raffle prizes, we've said, hey, we'll give you a free entry for, you know, like for World Running Day, or the Forest Grove Running Club asked, they were having their anniversary and they're going to have some raffle prizes. So we gave them a free entry. And so there's a couple of running clubs that have contacted us, and we've worked with them to give them some free entries to our events. So I think we're kind of reaching out to try to just touch base with different clubs.
And giving away the money.
And we're what?
We're giving away the money for the community.
And we're giving away the money for the community outreach for the different clubs as well. So I feel comfortable in that area, even though I don't remember what the actual conversation was.
Yeah.
I remember. There is a dedication to race quality and the like, a race director's brief, which I think we've started on. There are a couple of race directors in the race director manual that we updated that put in sections specifically for their events that talked about how they put on their event, what items they needed for equipment and when they did things and who they contacted and stuff. So we don't have a complete list, but we do have several events who have provided briefs for their events, and we've attached them in as appendices in the race director manual. So administration, finance, and board issues. I think we've talked about that. The finance committee met, we've made some recommendations, so that's pretty much been done. And we've redone the policies and procedures and kind of clarified everybody's roles and how we make decisions and how the board runs and things like that. I'm skipping over marketing because I know we haven't really done a whole lot of that, and I know Carissa's going to talk about that. And then there's the RRCA, where Charissa, do you know if your friend was volunteered to take on that regional role?
I do not know. So no, I have no idea on the status of that, to be honest, but I could check in with Tim Bentley if you wanted, or
That would be great.
or Katie herself, but yeah, sure.
So in terms of the actions, we talked about the Portland Marathon Aid Station connection with the running groups. Daniel had talked about connecting with Special Olympics about partnerships, but I know we haven't done anything with that. And I don't know if, sorry, getting my little emotions here. I don't know if he still wants to do that. And we talked about the Venmo account, which we've kind of created a policy on that. We're not having a club Venmo account, but we've reached out a procedure for using Venmo for race directors. And Adnan did the data analytics and gave us all that great information. Boy, that was a while ago, a year ago, on statistics and how much discounts were offered for races and stuff. So that was really helpful. So the main one that we haven't worked as much on has been the branding and marketing subcommittee. The website has been updated, so that's been moving great. So Charissa, do you want to talk about the branding and marketing aspects? You were talking about logos too. I know I saw the handout that you sent to everybody as well.
Sure. Yeah. Are you? I'll share my
Go for it.
screen. Okay. It's kind of in depth. I hope that's okay. Let's see, sharing screen. All right. Yeah. Thank you, everybody. Yell at me if you can't hear me or see things. So yeah, I wanted to talk about our logo and branding, and I had a number of ideas. Just in case anyone doesn't know, like, my background, I've had like over 20 years doing web and IT, marketing, communications, graphic design, all that kind of stuff. And with the running club, I started back with the running club with the leadership transition, July 2023, but I had also volunteered under the previous board, 2017, 2018 a lot. And yeah, I've
Mhm.
broken my ideas here down into like 4 main categories. I think it would be great if we could try to make an effort to be more inclusive in our collaboration and our planning. Number 1. And number 2, I think it might be helpful to build what I'd call a logo library so everybody knows where to find like our current logos, and there's
I think
guidance
we
on how to
actually
use it.
have that, Carissa. I think, did I share that with you? In our
Mhm.
Google Drive, I have a folder that I've been trying to put all of our logos in for all of our events that I know of. So if you
Okay.
haven't seen that, remind me and I'll get that to you.
Okay, maybe I need that. But okay. Number 3, considerations for either continued use of race logos or when we want to design a new race logo, and then considerations for making an overall or overarching brand strategy for the club and race events, perhaps. So I'm just gonna continue. So what I mean by inclusive collaboration, I will just kind of dive into an anecdote. Last year, or actually in 2023, we decided that we were going to go back to our original events for the Shampoo Run, which were 10, 20, and 30K, because the 20K had been replaced by a half marathon. We were going to go back to 10, 20, 30, which was cool. I was excited. So as soon as one of our races has its registration go live on Run Sign Up, I try to promote it as soon as I can. But on Facebook, and it's best to use an image, and Instagram, it's actually necessary to have an image. So I was just gonna go grab our logo, and this one doesn't work because it had a half marathon relay on it. This one didn't work because I had the old date embedded in it. So I took out the old date and made a new graphic, put it online, and then the first comment was, "There's a new logo. Contact Valerie." With a carrot. I'm like, oh my God, I didn't know there was a new logo. So I had spent all that time looking for one and fixing one, and it was not necessary. So it was kind of bad because I wasn't aware that I had used it. Using it was kind of embarrassing, makes us look less professional. And of course, there was some wasted time and effort. So obviously, it's better to, I'm sure that would have been intended, but I didn't know. So
So that comment was made publicly by somebody? That wasn't like an internal, just, hey, FYI, that was actually out in the public?
yes, that was out in the public, unfortunately. And we know Susan. She's a long time volunteer with the club. So it would have been fine if she contacted me privately, but it went out publicly. So I immediately tried to search for this logo. I'm not even sure if I knew Valerie was the race director yet. I think I found this on Run Sign Up. I am not sure anymore. But because it was made publicly, I also had to answer her publicly. And on behalf of the club, I said, well, the carrot was actually a yampa. It was a symbol of the natural and native history of the location, which is true. And I liked that aspect of why that was there in terms of the club. But then she asked who was responding to her. So then I switched to my personal profile and continued a little bit about my concerns that we lost the symbolism that the previous logo had. But besides that, this graphic I saw as being problematic because the orc logo is embedded in it and it's super tiny, so that when it actually at this size you already cannot read the club name, but if it's reduced further, you definitely won't be able to make it out. And so I said, we have a technical problem too. But it disturbed me that what had been a symbol of native and natural history got replaced by a symbol of weight to domination, which I don't think we intended to do, obviously, but we did do. So I'm saying the new logo is problematic because it was unintentionally racist, if I may say so. And there was a technical issue. The embedded orc logo is too small to be legible. So the response was, we made another new logo. But wait, another new logo costs us time and effort again. And there's a cost to our brand reputation if we switch logos too much. And then we wasted money because we had produced swag with the 2024 logo. And then I felt like, well, you didn't even hear these first two problems. Like, I don't know if this 2025 logo, how that comes across to Native Americans at all. I'm Asian, not Native American. I'm just guessing that they might be offended by that other one. And it still has a small orc logo embedded in it, which is illegible. So I love you all. Anyway. So I'm just saying, that's what I mean when I say maybe we really ought to try to include people sooner and maybe include more people. And I did not, clearly, I mean, it's not my idea. This is actually, I've learned about this in a workshop before. It's called Design Justice. There's a whole book called Design Justice, but I've heard from some of you, you really want to, and I believe you really want to, increase participation, increase diversity, include non-binary people, include Native Americans. So yeah,
So
let's do it, but let's do it by trying to seek them out and involve them earlier. So.
Well, I'm biased towards the carrot guy, so because I created it.
You created it. Well,
Yeah.
I like the carrot too. I'm like, why did we wipe it out? Or like, at least if we don't know what the good replacement is, don't wipe it out yet.
Yep.
That's my attitude. I was actually excited to like put it back up. but it's not about me. It's about what makes sense, right? What aligns with our values and all that. So anyway,
Charissa,
yes.
if I may, I'm just
course.
thinking that I am not a design. I don't know how to design logos, but most of my events have logos. And I think if nothing else, if each race director would make a 1-hour appointment in person by Zoom to meet with you and look at each of the logos and say, what do you think? How's it look? How can we make it better, clearer? Just kind of walk through it and just, in the next, doesn't have to be tomorrow, but say in the next, 3-4 months, you have a conversation with each race director about each of their logos and go, yep, looks good, or here's a way to make it better. And we just kind of do that, have that discussion. And if you think, it's other people, races with multiple RDs will have multiple people in that discussion. So that way we can take advantage of your experience and knowledge. And then race directors can express their preferences, the history of the logo, all those kind of things. And in the end, we can make them all cleaner and more meaningful, perhaps too. We don't have to do that all tonight, but in the next couple of months, would you be willing to do that sort of thing?
Maybe. I have to think about it. I also have to think
Okay.
about if it really achieves what we would want it to be, because then you're just asking me, and I can certainly help with the technical aspects of whether it works, but in
I
terms
guess for
of,
me, because that's kind of what I'm looking at. I mean, the
okay,
logo, I'm happy with the overall look of the logos that I have for the
Mm.
events that I do. But, from a technical side, do I have the right formats? Are they clean? Can I make them, all those, that's where I could use your expertise. So I would say if you
oh
are
yeah,
willing to give that
yeah,
some thought about if you'd be willing to do that. And like I said, if you'd spend an hour with, each of the race directors, but, talking about each event, it'd be,
you can
the-
always ask me.
Yeah.
How about
well,
that?
I'm asking you right now, because for
Yes.
Ralph Run, Vernonia, Hag Lake, and Turkey Trot, I'm asking you now.
Oh, yeah,
If
yeah.
you,
I'm
okay,
happy to look at things. Definitely. And you
okay,
can always ask me if you're not sure of anything else. That's
okay,
fine.
And I would also say the timing that you recommend, Mark, would be good
Yeah.
simply because if we're going to be finalizing our calendar for 2026 in about August or September, then looking at the logos now for the race
yeah,
that we're going to be putting on, it would make sense to make sure they're all up to snuff in terms of usability on swag or whatever. I saw your handout, and I think the main thing is again, it's just not. I didn't even know Best Damn Run was looking for a new logo.
So you didn't know either.
Oh, and so they said,
Yeah.
"Oh, here's what we have for a logo," and I'm like, "Oh, okay." I didn't know you were
Yeah.
changing. So
So it
and
has to go in the PMP manual and it has to be.
yeah, so I think we just need to just remind the race directors, if you're going to be changing the logo or doing anything, make sure you run it. Not that the board has to approve it, but it
Mhm.
needs to meet certain specs,
Right.
so it will work on things. So we don't do what happened with the year before at Solstice when it was such a beautiful logo, but it was just not usable on anything because it was so detailed.
Yeah,
That
I
was
mean,
just part one.
I'm just want to
Sorry.
back up Carissa here
Yeah,
for
that's
a
fine.
second
Yeah.
and just say, I mean, I love that Mark wanted to jump in and have Carissa take a look, and like I'm looking at already making just a few tweaks to the Autumn Leaves logo,
Mhm.
but tiny ones.
Mhm.
Because it's got a very male looking silhouette of a runner, and I'm like, all right, I want to keep the river behind it. I want to keep the leaves. I just want the runner to not look male. Like either I have a male and female looking body, or I have a gender neutral looking body. And so I wasn't going to consult you, Chris, only
That's
because
fine with
I'm
me
like,
though.
it's just that's pretty small kind of tweak with it, but I think it's in a case where we're trying to say honor Native American heritage, like just one of us putting eyes on it is not the point. A and B, I think I find it really problematic. Well, I'm like, I'm the exception, but I find it really problematic other race directors changing theirs. So I'm being a hypocrite. I'm sorry, guys.
No,
But
this is about talking about standards and that.
it's yeah, I think that if someone randomly is making the decision about a logo, again, that's a lot of money that we're spending with a designer that could be a complete and utter waste of time. And there's really like, I haven't done very much marketing, but I used to work in an education department where we had materials that we put out, and it had to all be consistent with like the logos and the colors and the sizes of the fonts for
Absolutely.
the organization. And so there's, and Debbie and I think both went to this workshop last year. I don't know if Susan went to it at the RRCA, that was about rebranding and a logo redesign that a club went through. And you have to be very intentional. There's a lot of things to think about that, none of us, unless we're great graphic designers, should be personally changing the logo ourselves. We need to hire someone to do it, probably.
And I'm willing to get into that or review or even consider doing some design if I have more time. But yeah, Thanks.
Yeah.
Can I still have some more minutes to talk about the rest of my talk?
Oh, keep going. Sorry,
Uh,
kind of
no, no, I'm really glad to hear the comments and the discussion, and that's good. And I want to help more. I want to help. Okay, so I just had some more things. Okay, we talked about this. You say you have their library, but not just the logo files. Like the spec sheet I sent out, the PDF, it mentions sweater fonts are. I think that's useful to know. And some of the specs on the colors we use, because that might not be as available. I don't know. But I mean, I didn't know we had a logo library, so I was kind of pulling this
Mhm.
together. And just examples like of when we might want to use certain logos. I mean, this kind of may be obvious, but if there's not good contrast, pick a different version. And then we'll provide those, a set of standardized versions where the colors are altered in a standardized fashion. So they're usable on different colored backgrounds. And then, we have this longer format when we need a longer format. And then, these are subtle variations that still uphold our brand, but are more usable depending on the application, depending on the context. So just maybe adding that sort of guidance so it's easier for people to follow. I hope that makes sense. So for race logos, I had a few comments on that. So the biggest thing is like the size consideration. The biggest issue I've seen is that a lot of them are designed like look great full screen, right? It's a nice piece of artwork or whatever. But on our website, I want it to be 200. We have a space that's 200 and 200 pixels. And then like other websites typically use like a little thing like Jeff Huber's. His is 75 by 75. So people just need to be aware that whatever logo you give out, people are going to scale it super tiny. And I don't know how concerned you are, but ideally it would either scale down well or you make a second version that does scale down well. And you can do it like we have here, like make it so there's a version of the text that isn't inside it.
Yeah,
And
that's
that
great.
or that the org logo is not inside it. And be aware, of course, we make things like beanies that also still take a very small size. So it's not just websites.
Mhm.
Okay. And then I don't know, same ideas. You've already mentioned the Dave Solstice thing. If it's too complex, it won't work for a lot of things. So, and then again, shampooey, there's just a lot inside of here, but we can take it out. So, sometimes like Deb Brown was saying, we don't necessarily have to do a complete redesign. We can do what I call a logo rehabilitation. And that's good because it doesn't, I mean, there's some brand continuity then, but you've made it more usable. So I like that concept and I've done it for other organizations. So there's your logo, Deb, and there's your man. Like, do we want to just show like an athletic, youngish male silhouette, or do we want to represent maybe more things,
Yeah,
uh,
and those maple leaves do not look like maple leaves to me. I know that's what they're supposed to be,
yeah, they
but
look
I'm
more
like,
like
we need some different shaped leaves.
Those look like Japanese maples, and I think we'd probably want Oregon white oak. Well, anyway, I'm half kidding, but I mean, like this is a kind of a checklist that I could put on that sheet or something. It's kind of more comprehensive in the sense that we should always make sure we have permissions to use any likenesses or any images, and obviously copyright. Um, we've talked about messaging. Does it align with what we're looking to communicate? And the tech specs. And then deliverables we didn't really talk about, but sometimes I'm sent a design file. The font's not known, which makes it hard to edit later, and it might be flattened. And ideally from the designer, we'll say up front, we need the original source file so we can edit it. And it's just a project manager thing that I would have always done if I was soliciting a design, for work. But I mean, we can't make any edits without that. So these are things you would clarify with a designer ahead of time. Okay, talking about the overarching brand strategy. So this is kind of what we got, I think. And it's just about do we want to look like all our events belong to our club? If we do, we can think about this. We can either do like a rebranding effort from the ground up, like Deb Brown said. That is a major undertaking, so I wouldn't do that quickly. That is when you examine like what are our values and you have a brainstorming session, and then see our logo. I don't know. You could do it the reverse way. When you see this logo, what do you think? I don't know. Does it make you think of Oregon? When you think of our name, or do we represent Oregon? Are we Portland Metro, you know? Are we Roadrunners? I don't know. Are we just runners?
Started out as all of Oregon and now we're more Portland Metro.
Yeah. So anyway, that's why it becomes such a big thing. I mean, I've talked to people and like rebranding discussions in which just talking about the font took so many meetings. So it is like a big thing to go through, and it's expensive, takes time, and so I don't do it unless you realize that. So what can we do? We can do things on a smaller scale that don't have to be dramatic, like a logo rehabilitation. So here is one idea. I just brainstorming on my own. We can require all new logos be circular. Too late for best damn run, I guess. But anyway, and then we could say then we can make a kind of a frame for it. It says org on one side, and it says then we have a place to wrap the race event name otherwise. So look, here's a Ralph's Run example in which I've kind of rehabilitated it. Why, it could be like that. It's just an idea, but, and here's another sort of idea, just a different brand mark on the side, but the concept is that you take a smaller element for our ORRC, and then it's easier to co-brand it with a race logo. And if the race logos are uniformly one sort of shape, then you can extend that. So that's not as huge as doing rebranding from the ground up. So
I like that idea.
yeah, it's just a possibility.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's what we talked about.
So
And
I have a couple, I guess a comment and a question. My comment, Carissa, is that the handout that you put together, the colorful handout, I found that to be very helpful. So I guess thank you, because that probably took quite a bit of work to put together. And it looked great and it was very, very helpful. Is the intention of that document, is that something that you're looking for race directors to work with their graphic designers to implement? Like, how does this information get to the race directors? Mark may have some thoughts on that. But like
well,
the consistency of the information getting out there, and then I guess as far as what you were outlining, what's your recommendation to the club as far as what we should do on a rebranding perspective? Like, what would you like to see happen?
okay. Well, first of all, with that, the document I sent out, I guess, if I guess I was like hoping for enough information from you guys, maybe just in the course of this meeting or so, to finalize that, because I felt like the last page I wasn't sure about, because that was about this branding stuff. And but once that's finalized, I think that could be appended to the PNP manual, and it could go in the logo library. I think it should be in both places and given, you know, to race directors,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It,
And
it could
then,
definitely be an addendum in the, an appendix in the race director manual for sure. I think that would be really useful there. We are having a race director meeting next week on Tuesday.
Yeah.
And so we can talk to them about that.
Yeah, I mean, I found it helpful just even hearing it tonight about, because these are things I would not think about. This is not, graphic design is not my thing. But I thought it was helpful because I would not have thought about, you put a logo together and if it's too busy and what happens to it when it gets smaller and then it goes on the website. I think that's really important information. And so, I mean, I appreciate hearing it, But I just want to make sure that we get it out to everybody that needs it, because I know I would not have thought about that. So that's my biggest, probably one of my biggest key takeaways.
Sure, I
So,
appreciate
yeah.
that. I
Yeah,
appreciate those remarks a
Well,
lot because,
I
Yeah.
can simply add it to the agenda for the meeting next week, so.
okay,
To continue,
Yeah.
you know, in a, you know, because a lot of people here are already race directors, but you know, with those who not, I can, you know, walk through it and we can continue the discussion with the RDs. And of course, send the document that you created to all the RDs. And so I will add that to the agenda.
I really
Just-
like the idea of what you had on that last one with the
the-
circular with the ORRC on the side. So it's
Okay.
it's very obvious that the race is an ORRC event. And I always just assumed we could just have the ORRC logo and then the race logo right next to each other. But maybe you don't need to do something like that. If you don't want two logos on a hat or two logos on a shirt, and you just want one, having that circular one with ORRC around or something. If we could, you know, and we don't need to decide this right now, but I really do like the idea of making it consistently known or more standardized and make it more easily to see that this is an ORRC event versus something else.
So piggybacking off of that, if it's circular, what if we have it instead of ORC on the side? I was thinking maybe that's on top and then the race name on the bottom part.
Bottom, so
Yeah.
instead of side to side, yeah.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, we can discuss that. I think it would be great if we kind of could come to a consensus and then, so
Mhm.
maybe a way to move forward is hash
Yeah.
up a few ideas and then discuss
Yeah.
it further.
Carissa, are you planning on attending the RD meeting next week? So you can be continue to be part of the discussion?
I suppose I can. I actually usually I do have a class from 7 to 8:30
Well,
next
no,
week.
totally. I mean, I get
but-
it. Just, you know, but I will as best I can represent what you have presented.
No,
So
I mean,
if you
can
can be there,
come.
awesome. If you can't, then you know.
That'd be great.
I
Okay.
mean, we
Yeah.
could share your PowerPoint with
Oh, definitely
the
that part of it.
other
I
race
definitely share
directors.
that, yeah. But
I
Would
mean,
you want me to talk about the whole thing or just anyway?
no,
I think specifically more just the race logos and how it marketing with ORRC branding, I think is
Okay.
the best.
The second
Yeah.
half. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like we need a logo committee.
Yeah. Well, that's
We
what I wrote
might.
down. Julie wrote down, plan a logo committee meeting, a logo marketing meeting.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm not joking though.
Yeah.
I've actually played a little bit more. I'm sharing this again.
Yeah.
Just to let you know. So, I mean, I get into it, but anyway.
Yeah, I mean, just very briefly, great idea, Carissa. I would be open to it being round or square or oval, but like they don't, like it would be okay with me if some of them are not the same shape. But I know Hagmud, the ORC is tiny,
Oh yeah.
and I don't like that. But I was like, I'm not going to put money into a new logo because that logo is only 3 years old. That's
Right.
kind of how I handled it last year, even though it was problematic. So I think it's really good that we're thinking about this right now.
Cool.
Yeah, thank you. And I agree. Even if there's a logo that's problematic, it's also problematic to change it too quickly, and there's a cost to it. So I'm not trying to push that at all.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you so much, Carissa. This was super helpful.
thanks.
Okay. Carrie and Mark, you were going to talk about waivers and liability.
Carrie, if you know, I'll take that if you don't mind, Carrie.
say
We
that
gotta,
again.
Carrie,
Yeah.
I'll take this. You could,
Yep.
if I miss anything, let me know. But
Yep.
Carrie and we both have busy lives. We finally had a phone conversation on Sunday, so we settled a few things, but other things realized we still need to do more research. So just a quick summary. Race directors should be of the habit of every year before they go active on run sign up or ultra sign up is to review the waiver, make sure it's still complete and accurate. I mean, obvious changes like this Carrie's talking about how, the Pumpkin Ridge course change, and what that means, it's in a different municipalities, and so in terms of who to name to be, not held liable, changed. And that's an obvious update that needs to be done, but, and so every race director should be in that habit of, before they go live, look it over, is it good, kind of thing. Second issue, we came up with the issue of kids runs, for like Turkey Trot. Kid doing the kids run does register online, and their parent signs a waiver for them, so they're good. But we're talking about the issue of like run events that have just like a whoever shows up kids run kind of thing, where might be too much trouble to get everybody to register online in advance. And for that, we're thinking it would be simpler just to have a paper waiver. If you have just kind of like for Hague Road, we had kids run, and we had about 15 or 20 kids, and and on the day of, just have the parents sign a paper waiver. So we're covered there, but we don't have to go the whole hassle of setting something up and run sign up. Another issue was about strollers and dogs. Some events permit them, some do not. It's worth stating those things explicitly in your instructions on the website, and it's also explicitly dealing with those in the content of the waiver, in terms of if you do decide you're going to permit people to have dogs or have kids in strollers, that kind of thing. One of the things we did not resolve is the issue of group volunteers. So like you get a high school group, right? So typically you might have the teacher or the coach sign up, and they sign the waiver, but then they're bringing 10 or 20 high school students, and we weren't sure, possibly if I'm gonna say that in general, that if a coach takes students to a game, they're covered under the school district's liability because it's an official school event. Possibly it's the same thing that if a coach brings kids to volunteer, maybe not, we don't know. We've realized that we need to do more research because, we've never had a problem, knock on wood, but we need to be covered, we need to be prepared. So that's something that Carrie is going to do more research, and we're going to figure out the best way to be sure that if we have group volunteers or groups of volunteers, particularly groups that have volunteers who are under 18, to be sure that they are covered, so we need to do more research on that. So it's a work in progress. We're not ready to present the full report yet, but that's just kind of an update on where we are in terms of what we figured out and what still needs to be figured out. One other little piece of it is I have composed a rough draft of an incident report. We had 2 medical things with Vernonia, and reminded me again, we need to be sure we have something in place if something does happen. And the RRCA has some guidelines. I'm looking at that, and I have sometime in the near future, I should have an incident report to provide for each race director. So if something does happen, we can document, this is what happened, this is how we handle it. So, if ever we would be sued for something, at least we would already have a written report of what happened, kind of thing. So like that's also a work in progress, and when it's ready, I will present that to the board as well. So Carrie, did I miss anything?
No, the only other thing that I had written down, and it's just more of a reminder, is that if we have volunteers that offer to help at the events that did not previously sign up, I had that happen at Vernonia, and I didn't even think about the fact that they had not signed a waiver. We need to make sure that we have physical waivers for them to sign at the event. I had some very nice family members that were waiting for their participants to finish the race, and they said, "Oh, we'll help." And I'm like, "Great." And then after the event, I'm thinking, "Oh, that woman was cutting with a knife. That probably wasn't good. I probably should have had her sign a waiver in case something happened." So that would be my only other thing that we just need to be diligent about. So.
Yeah. I forgot that one. Yeah.
One thing we noticed when we went this last week, we went to both the foot traffics, and the Selwood, everybody signed up and they had the waiver there, signed the waiver and everything like that. At West Side, they had a waiver there, and they goes, "Oh, we have the waiver tonight.
They said,
And-
yeah, we only do the waiver on pizza nights when ORRC's here.
Yep.
And I'm like, I don't want to know this.
Don't say the quiet part out loud.
Yeah.
I was like, because we had asked them specifically, did you have people sign waivers? Oh yeah, we haven't signed waivers. And it's like, oh, okay.
So don't know if that's being really enforced at the west side anyway. I think it is on the.
I think it is on the east.
On the-
At
on
Selwyn
Selwyn.
it is, but have a conversation with Christian.
All right. Cool. So like I said, waivers, it's a work in progress. We've resolved some issues, but you know, we're gonna do some more research and we will present more when we have that. Other little stray thoughts since Carrie and I were talking. Rumor has it that Carrie wants to be the VP of race operations. That is take the job that I have.
Okay, well, let me back up a little bit here.
Carrie and I have talked, and I got the real story from Carrie. So and we had a discussion, and so I am officially submitting my resignation as the VP of Race Operations effective December 31st of next year. Okay, it is my intention when my current term on the board is up in December of this year to run for another 2-year term. And the first year of that term will be a year of mentorship to mentor Carrie to be the VP of Race Operations. So then on January 1st, 2027, I will remain on the board, but no longer as the VP of Race Operations. So that is the plan. Regardless of how I got here, that is where we're headed. And Carrie pointed out that that is a good idea for all of the named positions. President, particularly president and treasurer. Those are just so. President and treasurer. Those are just so.
Well, and what I'll say is I've checked in with all of you, and I appreciate all of you have agreed to run again in December when your those of you who have terms expire, you've all agreed to rerun. Debbie has agreed to stay on as treasurer. So Mark's going to stay on as VP of races. Mark has been telling everybody, I don't want to be VP of races. I just want to be a race director, but I do
want to be on the board. Yeah, I've been involved in. I've been involved.
I did not ask for Mark's job.
No,
I did not ask.
No, I have been a member of the Oregon Roadrunners Club since 1991, but until 2 years ago, I was never on the board because I love directing races.
Right.
But I do this for the good of the club. And I shall continue to do it for the good of the club.
I will say that Deb has said that she agrees to stay on the board as an at-large, but she would like to step down as secretary. So we would be looking for somebody to take on the role of secretary starting in January.
Okay.
Okay.
So that was a side topic not on the agenda, but yeah, just there it is. Next thing, can I just jump into it since I'm talking?
Yes, I was going to say you talked about the Trail Creek Convention.
Yes, it's I'm gonna get the name wrong. I wrote everything down and then I left it at home, so I'm doing it from memory. The U.S. Trail Running Association, I think it's called. They have a conference every year. This year it's it's usually in October. This year it's in Knoxville, Tennessee. I looked over the agenda for the thing, and it's basically a trail version of the RRCA convention. I mean, the workshops are catered specifically for event directors of trail runs. This year, the emphasis is one of their emphasis is technology and how it can be used. Another focus this year is how to be more inclusive. Plus just general stuff. It just looks to be as valuable as the RRCA convention is to board members and race directors. This it's the trail version of the same thing. And so like RRCA, there's the cost of the flight, the hotel, and the registration. Now, one of the sponsors of the conference is Leslie Jordan, and Mike is my contact at Leslie Jordan, and he says that he has given me a code for a free entry or a free registration. So that cost is covered. So I get what I am proposing here is that make a motion that ORC send one person to the US Trail Running Conference in October and to cover the cost of airfare and hotel. And just quick, a look at numbers. Airfare varies between $500, $600. The rooms are $130 a night, so it'd be 3 nights kind of a thing. And so I am proposing that we, the club, send one person to this because it just would be invaluable. An obvious choice for this would be one of the race directors of the Hag Mud. But, I understand schedules availability. So, I mean, I would be willing to go if no one from the Hag Mud could. But I think we could make this easier if the club is willing to sponsor someone to go. That way, money is not an issue, just schedules. And, it would be, to my mind, quite an asset to the event directors of the Hag Mud and to the event directors of the Hag Mud.
Do you know the dates?
October 11th to 13th. So, Deb, you looked at the website. Your thoughts on this? Are you interested in going?
I mean, yes, I feel bad though, because I've gone to RRCA twice already. So
Don't-
it's just I mean, I just don't know how involved my co-director is, and I haven't even checked in with him to see how engaged he is about wanting to do Hag Mud here.
Yeah.
I think Deb is the obvious choice because even though you have been to RCA, you're also the race director for our one trail run.
I mean,
Yeah.
Autumn Leaves has like 10% trail, maybe 20%.
Yeah, say the two.
Got 20% trail. It's an ultra. The only bad thing is that it's like less than 2 weeks before the race.
That's why I was asking about the October.
Yeah. Timing is an issue. Yeah. So.
But Joel is on the ball, you guys. So I'm not going to be doing 90% by myself this time.
Well, why don't we approve sending somebody and we can decide who it's going to be when we can.
And who, I guess, okay, so we got 2 things here. One is, okay, so let me formally make a motion, or if I have not already done so, I will formally make a motion that ORC sponsor one person to go to the US Trail Conference. So that is my motion.
Second.
Okay, I'm not sharing this, so I can't say what, any further discussion?
Discussion? Okay, all in favor of the motion to send one person to the trail convention, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay.
Okay, motion carries. So we will send one
Cool.
person. We just need to
So so the next question is who? You said money for it. So Deb, I would agree with Tracy. You are the most logical choice to send to this. So I put this to you to have the right of first refusal. You don't have to decide tonight, but give it some thought. Look at your calendar, the whole bit. Talk to the other RDs of Autumn Leaves and of Hag Mud. And I think you should be the first choice. You're the most logical person to go. But if for whatever reason you do not want to or cannot go, consider me an alternate to do that. But you don't need to decide tonight, I don't think. But it's not till October, so you got time to decide and buy plane tickets and make hotel reservations and all of that kind of stuff. So,
Thank you. Who was the second on the motion? Was that Carrie?
Julia.
Oh, thank you. I was typing and I didn't see who it was. Thank you.
Okay.
so
Thanks for that vote of confidence, Mark.
Okay, let's see. It's number 9. The next thing was the communications workshop, and I just want to say, I don't think we need to go into a lot of discussion on it, but I thought it went really well. I thought Alan did a fantastic job, and it was super informative. I honestly was dreading it because I've been to so many communication and personality workshops. It's like, oh, I don't want to do this, but it was actually really fun. So it was actually really fun. So, Upcoming events. Dave's Solstice Run at Blue Lake. I think I just got an email from him. We have, I think, 52 people now registered for it, which is just slightly higher than last year. Last year, we think we had 78 register, but only about 50 something finishers. So he's hoping to break 100. We're just not sure, but things are going well. He just needs some volunteers. And Duel is, we're set. It's at Rex Putnam High School. We have a location. The permits are done. We're good. And registration is up and running. And those are the big ones. We have the member picnic coming up July 4th. Julie and I are in charge of that. We have the park all ready to go. That's good.
Know about the special prize.
Oh yeah, Mark.
We're gonna send an email to members, but yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna send an email with a picture for all members. Mark got a grill. This is not a used grill. This is a new grill, right?
A brand new Weber Grill Classic Charcoal Grill, still in the box. And I'm giving it away as a raffle prize at the member picnic on July 4th.
Oh, we're
So
gonna send out an email to all members, inviting them again, reminding them of it.
Pumpkin Ridge, we were worried about, of course.
Yeah, Carrie, any updates on the Pumpkin Ridge course?
Yeah, so we submitted the same course maps as last year. We are approved from Hillsborough. We are approved from Washington County. However, there is a potential issue with road construction on the road leading back into the elementary school. And we just so happened to schedule yesterday a meeting at North Plains Elementary. I've asked Hal to join me. It was at the request of North Plains. They're doing a lot of building and they want the developer and go over the course map. At this point in time, it looks like the road construction will probably be completed to the point that we would be able to run the course, but we have to confirm, is it the original course from last year or is it a modified course? We have mapped out a modified course if we have to use it. We just have to confirm that the developer will have the roads open and ready to go. And it sounds like we're okay, but we'll find out Thursday for sure. So if we're all good to go, we'll figure out what the course map is. And if I have to go back to Washington County and submit the updated course maps, we will do that. But Washington County has approved the permits. So, okay. So hopefully we're good.
Okay, cool.
And Best Damn Runs up and running.
Yeah, Best Damn Runs is up and running. So registration is up and running. And was Autumn Leaves open, Deb? Did you open it up?
That opened June 1st.
Okay.
Just like that was our goal. And I was like, if we have to do June 15th, I'll delay it. But it opened June 1st and I put a special out. I'm hoping, I don't know if something went on the website, Charissa, or Facebook, but we're running a like 15% off special for the first 2 weeks, because I noticed that the trajectory for most trail races is that their pricing will be like an early bird first 2 weeks. Rather than put that into the pricing, like how it's set up, I just offered a coupon.
Oh, okay.
And so, but we should definitely promote that. And the coupon is Autumn Returns.
And, the latest newsletter is going out Friday that has the upcoming races and registration links. So would you want that in there as well?
Yeah, the thing is, it expires June 15th. So they'll have to like quit.
What I'll do is I'll put the registration link. I won't mention the coupon.
Did you guys watch the video?
Oh, that was such a cute
Very
video.
good.
Yeah, play the video.
You want me to play the video?
I can't play it. I'm on my phone.
I don't even, I'm so dumb. I don't know how to share my screen.
Damn.
I know.
Listen,
Send it to the board though. It was really cute.
We'll send email the link to the board, Joel.
okay.
Okay.
Very
So yeah,
creative.
Joel had this whole, like, he drew a storyboard. He got his kids and his wife involved. My kid was there. Ironically enough, my husband is actually, he has gone to film school. So, not that I know that much, but I was like, we need to say our lines when we're close to the iPhone, because the iPhone doesn't have a good speaker or microphone. So anyway, kudos to Joel for his positive vibes and trying to get some good promotions out. And we have a permit. I think we have the bank account set up correctly now on Ultra Sign Up, thanks to Debbie. Ultra Sign Up's been a little bit of a problem. So we're getting the kinks worked out with being able to email all of the prior years of the race, et cetera, et cetera. What other updates? We haven't actually done a whole lot because we have to figure out what we want our logo to be and then figure out swag and then figure out all that kind of stuff. But Joel is looking into the other timer. Athletic timing is a lot more expensive. So we're considering whether we want to just hand time the race. If we don't have that many people register, it's just going to be cost prohibitive to do it with a chip time. That's all I got. What about you, Joel? Anything else?
No, that's about it. I'll add we can get the video uploaded. I think we should try to get it on the old Autumn Leaves Facebook.
I think Noel was the last person who had access to that. Noel and Mark Barrett, actually.
And Mark had to leave, so you might want to contact him, yeah.
Yeah. So we'll
Yeah,
have
no
to,
problem.
Mark Takazawa, since you know the park, do you guys have EMS on site during your races at Shampooey?
No, we just
Okay.
have it on like speed dial.
Okay,
So
good. That'll save us a lot of money.
yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Cool. All right, thank you. That's it. Okay, I think that's all I had. Did anybody have anything else for the rest of the good of the order or anything?
Oh, do you need beer for the July 4th? Because I have so much beer left. Oh, you're like, no, that's a liability problem.
We're not doing beer.
I have so much beer left over from Hag Mud. It's insane.
Does it
So
have an expiration date? Can you save it for next year? I don't know if beer
the
has.
only thing is I'm getting some work done on my house, so I'm gonna have to move everything out of my house.
Oh,
So yeah, maybe I'll make Joel store it for me.
Mark will probably do it. Maybe Best Emma. Yeah, Best Emma might use it. I don't know.
That's a daytime race.
You can't store beer in general unless it's like a high, super high alcoholic, like Belgian beer that's
It's in
11%. The rest of it just gets old and doesn't taste good. So
Oh, I'm
maybe
not
you
a beer
could
drinker.
ship it out to Forest Grove. Mark Barrett and I could drink it.
There you
It
go.
is 4 cases.
That's enough for me. Maybe I'll give 1 or 2 to Mark.
Yeah, I'm not sure what Mark would drink. That's kind of my share.
I
I
know,
mean, they're
that's
like-
exactly where I'm coming from.
It's like 24 packs each, you guys.
Have a
Okay.
Party.
Party. Okay. So our next meeting is Tuesday, July 8th. And if you have different topics you want us to cover, let me or Debbie know. Deb know.
Mhm.
Otherwise, thank you so much, everybody. I appreciate you all. And we'll see you, if not at the Solstice Run, I'll see you at the picnic, maybe. That's picnic. Come to the picnic. Time for the picnic. All right.
All right. Good night.
Bye.
Thank
Thank you.